African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing. On the progress of the special military operation as of October 5, 2025. Last night, the armed forces of the Russian Federation delivered a massive strike with high-precision long-range weapons of ground, sea, and air-based platforms, including hypersonic aeroballistic Kinzhal missiles, as well as strike unmanned aerial vehicles against enterprises of the Ukrainian military-industrial complex and gas energy infrastructure facilities that supported their operation. The strike objectives have been achieved. All designated targets were hit. Units of the North Troop Group inflicted damage on formations of 2 mechanized brigades, a Ranger Brigade, a Coastal Defense Brigade, an Assault Regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and 2 Territorial Defense Brigades in the areas of the settlements of Katarinivka, Novosek, Urody, Krovna, Andrivka, Osoivka, and Iskryskopshchina in the Sumy region. On the Kharkiv direction, damage was inflicted on units of 2 mechanized and motorized infantry brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and a Territorial Defense Brigade in the areas of the settlements of Novozvanivka, Volchansk, Dvyrchansk, Balajivka, Ambarn, and Pokaliane in the Kharkiv region. The Armed Forces of Ukraine lost up to 190 servicemen, an armored combat vehicle, 5 cars, 2 artillery guns, and a HIMARS multiple launch rocket system launcher of U.S. manufacture. A radio-electronic reconnaissance station, an ammunition depot, and 6 supply depots were destroyed. Units of the West Troop Group occupied more advantageous lines and positions. Damage was inflicted on personnel and equipment of 5 mechanized brigades, a UAV regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, a Territorial Defense Brigade, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements of Puskane, Kupiansk, Petrovka in the Kharkiv region, Yampil, Novonikolayevka, Krymky, and Svyatohorsk in the Donetsk People's Republic. Enemy losses amounted to up to 225 servicemen, 2 armored combat vehicles, 15 cars, and a field artillery gun. 5 electronic warfare stations and 4 ammunition depots were destroyed. Units of the South Troop Group, as a result of active and decisive actions, liberated the settlement of Kuzmanivka in the Donetsk People's Republic. Damage was inflicted on formations of 3 mechanized brigades, an assault brigade, a mountain assault brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements of Seversk, Rehorodok, Reznikivka, Ivanopoli, Alexeyevo-Drushkovka, and Konstantinovka in the Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy lost up to 130 servicemen, 3 armored combat vehicles, 9 cars, and an artillery gun. A radio-electronic warfare station and an ammunition depot were destroyed. Units of the Center Troop Group improved their position along the front line. Defeated personnel and equipment of 6 mechanized, assault, 2 Ranger, 2 airborne assault brigades, 2 assault regiments of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and 3 National Guard brigades in the areas of the settlements Dmitrov, Gruskoy, Teretskoy, Rubizn, Artemovka, Dorozhnoy, Ivanovka, Krasnoarmeysk, and Grishino of the Donetsk People's Republic. Losses of Ukrainian armed formations amounted to more than 430 servicemen, a tank, a Turkish-made Kirpi armored vehicle, a Canadian-made Senator armored vehicle, a pickup truck, and a field artillery gun. Units of the East Troop Group continued advancing into the depth of the enemy's defense. Defeated formations of 2 mechanized brigades, an assault regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and a Territorial Defense Brigade in the areas of the settlements Uspanovka, Malinovka, Pavlovka, Privolnoy, Novogrigorovka, and Poltavka in the Zaporizhia region. The enemy lost over 270 servicemen, an armored combat vehicle, 8 vehicles, and a warehouse of material resources. Units of the Dnieper Troop Group inflicted damage on personnel and equipment of heavy mechanized and mechanized brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine in the areas of the settlements Malaya Tokmachka, Lukyanovskoy, and Chervenaya Kranitsa in the Zaporizhia region. Up to 55 Ukrainian servicemen destroyed, 4 vehicles, 5 electronic warfare stations, and a warehouse of material resources. Operational tactical aviation, strike unmanned aerial vehicles, missile troops, and artillery of the Russian armed forces troop groups inflicted damage on energy facilities supporting the operation of enterprises of the Ukrainian military-industrial complex. Rolling stock involved in railway transportation of weapons and military equipment to combat zones in Donbass, the fuel supply center for the armed forces of Ukraine, storage and preparation sites for launching long-range unmanned aerial vehicles and U.S.-made HIMARS multiple launch rocket systems, as well as temporary deployment points of Ukrainian armed formations and foreign mercenaries in 137 areas. Air defense means shot down 4 guided aerial bombs and 145 airplane-type unmanned aerial vehicles. In total, since the start of the special military operation, destroyed 667 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 88,173 unmanned aerial vehicles, 631 surface-to-air missile systems, 25,361 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 1,593 multiple launch rocket system combat vehicles, 30,195 field artillery guns and mortars, 43,231 units of special military automotive equipment. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.